people and welcome to Brännboll Official's video about Brännboll. And today we're going to go over the basic rules of the sport that we all love and cherish. Brännboll is, as you know, a sport played in Umeå mostly, in north of Sweden, where every year the sport of Brännboll has its World Cup being played. I will go over the official rules for the sport when it's played as a World Cup, and hopefully you will learn how to play this. So let's get to it. Bramboll is being played between two teams, the catching team and the hitting team. Both teams have 8 players active in the game, although they are allowed to have 12 players in their team as a whole. They can switch players during the match or between matches. The match is being played over 2 halves, which are both 12 minutes. On those 2 halves, the teams take turns in being hitting team and catching team. The size and the shape of the course will be discussed in a later video, but what's important to know is that there are 4 bases where the players have to run between. The team that managed to get the most points in the game wins. The catching team gets points for catching the ball without it hitting the ground first and burning the running players. The hitting team scores point by having a player make it all the way around all the 4 bases, and in the rare occasion, making a home run. The catching team's job is to try to catch the ball while it's in the air and then throw it back to a special player on their team called the burner. When the burner gets the ball, he or she shouts bränd in Swedish. That means that any player between bases will be burned. That will score a point to the catching team, and the burned player will have to go back to the first base and start over with the next hit. When a player is about to hit the ball, he or she have to stand on the batter's mat. That means the player has to either stand on the mat or be above the mat when hitting the ball. It is allowed to have your feet beside the mat as long as your body is above the mat. It is also allowed to start beside the mat and then walk up to the mat while taking aim and then hitting the ball as long as you are on the mat or above the mat when you hit the ball. In most matches, the hitters have 2 chances, so if the first hit is invalid, they'll have another chance before they have to go to the first base and the catching team gets 1 point. But in some matches, late in tournaments and often on practice matches, you will only have 1 try to hit the ball correctly. For a hit to be legal, it has to land in the batter's sector. That means it has to be far enough to be a proper hit, and it also has to be straight enough. There's a short line on 10 meters the ball has to pass, and the sector's width is a little wider than the outer bases. If a ball lands or being catched outside of this area, the ball is deemed not legal. The referee will judge the ball first when it hits the ground or when the catching team catches it. If the hit is invalid, all the players have to go back to the base where they were before the hit was done. The hitting player has to walk to the first base, and the catching team gets 1 point. So now you might wonder, what's the object of the game? How do I win? Well, you want to get most points. And getting points is possible for both the catching team and the hitting team. The catching team get a point every time they catch a ball without the ball hitting the ground first. They also get a point for burning the running player of the hitting team. If they can get the ball to the burner when the running players are between 2 bases, they get burned. That's a point for the catching team. And the burned player has to go back to the first base. They can also get points for an outburn. An outburn is when all the 8 players have hit in the hitting team and no one has been able to pass the 4th base. That will give a lot of points to the catching team. That's 5 points, and where all the hitting team players go back into the nest and they have to start over. The hitting team wants to hit the ball and then go all the way around the 4 bases. When you pass the 4th base, you're home free, you're in the nest again, and you get 1 point for your team. You are allowed to stop at the bases you're passing. In fact, you'll almost always stop on the base along the way. You are also allowed to be several players on the same base at the same time. You are also allowed to stay on the base when someone hits the ball. You are not obliged to run just because the ball is hit. The hitting team can also get bonus points by having the hitting player immediately run all the way around all the 4 bases before the catching team gets the ball to the burner. This is called a home run, or in Swedish, a varvning. This will give the hitting team 1 point for a player coming in at the 4th base and also 5 extra bonus points for the home run. A common misconception and a rule that's allowed in a lot of Swedish schools is that if you jump at the end of your run when you're trying to get to a new base and you're in the air when the ball comes to the burner, even if you're not past the base, you're safe when the burner shouts burn. This is not true in the World Cup of Brännboll. It's the chest that has to be across the line of the next base for you to be safe. It is not relevant if you're in the air or not when you pass the base and the burner gets the ball. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it has helped you and that you liked what you saw and can now go out and play the Bramboll, which I hope everyone will do. If you want to support the channel and want to support me with Brännboll Official, you can give this a like. You can, of course, subscribe, and definitely I want you to leave a comment down below. You can also check out my clothing that I have started. Brännboll clothes you can buy off of, here it is, off of the web shop. I'm gonna link it in the description, and I'm super pumped to have made my first YouTube video and started this channel that I've been thinking about for a long time. And like I said, I hope you liked it. So hopefully you'll come back, watch more content as I make it. So until next time, have a good time.